and welcome back to Bella Graffito Art. Today, we're throwing it back, okay? I'm even wearing my MTV shirt today for the nostalgia. We are talking about shrink charms today. This one is a Care Bears shrink charms kit. I'm super excited about it. I found it at a mall. I know, people still go to malls. We were walking around after having lunch at Mellow Mushroom and, gotta walk off the delicious pizza and ended up walking by a Suncoast Motion Pictures. I have not seen one of those stores in years. I thought they were all closed. I liked walking into them when malls were at their height, but really thought they were all gone. So super excited to walk into one, saw a bunch of different cool DVDs and things, and then I saw the Care Bears kit and I said, yes, you will be going home with me today. And so at a whopping $2.38, I paid for these and knew I was gonna make a video on them because I love shrink charms. Legally, I know I cannot call them Shrinky Dinks. Some people have no idea what these are. Just the shrinking in general. When I was an art teacher, I did a project with shrink film paper. Now they're called a lot of different things now. Shrink film, shrink charms. Mostly I've seen it called shrink film when you're buying the stuff in bulk. It basically looks like a transparency that you can color on with marker. There's even some where you can use colored pencil. It's more of a sanded texture that you can color on. And then you pop them in the oven. You let them kind of chill out in there, and then they shrivel down and shrink nice and flat. And then it's like a hard charm, or you could use it as a keychain. You could use it as earrings. People have made necklaces. You can do all sorts of funky decorative things. I've seen people make lampshades out of the shrink film. So there's so many cool things that you can do with shrink film in general. Again, legally, not calling them Shrinky Dinks. I can't get sued. I ain't got nothing to give you. So we're gonna bust up these. We're gonna open them up. We're gonna start coloring on them. These use colored pencils. We're gonna shrink them in the oven and we're gonna see what they look like. So let's go. Well, here we are. Here is the box. This is apparently to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Care Bears, which I believe was, ooh, there's tape on here. 40th anniversary. So I think Care Bears came out in 1982. So this would have been a couple years ago. Are we going to get mad if I mess this box up? So it's got everything in here, 6 sheets with 12 images. We'll probably color a couple of them today. 12 colored pencils and the stands. So that's what these are. Cute little stands to stand them up on and display them. So you'll cut out your character on the blue line, color it in with the colored pencils on the rough side. Okay, and then you're going to, you're coloring on the reverse side of the charm. Okay, and then... okay, it says to use a toaster oven. It really is best. That's what I used whenever I did shrink film with my students. It was with 7th and 8th graders. And so we had a toaster oven in the classroom that we would use, and that worked out perfect, but I don't have a toaster oven. I gave it to my sister. Yep, I gave it to one of my sisters. I was like, I don't use this anymore. So we are going to use the regular oven. It's going to be at 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and make sure you put some foil down. I'll go through all that when we go to the kitchen downstairs to be able to do this, but it shouldn't be bad putting it in the oven for just a small amount. We're not doing batches. If you were doing batches of this, I definitely would say don't put it in your regular oven. Put it in like a toaster oven. Like, just get a inexpensive toaster oven to be like your craft toaster oven. Otherwise, it does get a little stinky. Okay, now I don't know about this brand, but the ones we used, it was a little stinky. All right, so I am going to avoid struggling again on camera. I'm gonna take these out and pick the ones that I want, and then I'm gonna cut them like it says on here, and then I will be right back with the coloring part. Okay, all right, we'll see you back. are all trimmed up here. I just did the one for now. Now I did notice it did seem like it was a little difficult getting into some of these little smaller nooks and crannies to cut it, which I didn't have an issue like that with other shrink film I've used before. So I don't know if it's just because this is like an older kit, but hopefully it should be okay. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if you don't have something as a smooth edge when you're cutting it, after these shrink, they do end up being like a sharp edge, okay? So that was one of the things I had to warn my students about whenever they were creating things. So when I was working on this with my students, I had us make like mobiles. They could do like a standing mobile or a hanging mobile, because we were talking about Alexander Calder and other sculpture artists. And so we were looking at different sculptures that they created, and we were like, okay, how can we make this look really funky and, you know, add some pizzazz to it? So we actually did pieces of the shrink film that they got to decorate with marker and colored pencil and fine line pens, all sorts of really cool stuff. And then they would shrink them down. And if you did a standing mobile, so that's just like a mobile that's on its own standing, you would have a piece of 6" by 6". We used mat board scraps, and then they would hot glue all their pieces together to make a sculpture. So if y'all wanted to, I could have that be one of my videos, because it actually is really fun. The kids didn't know anything about shrink film or Shrinky Dinks or anything like that. So it was really fun to see their reaction whenever the items were in the toaster oven and they would see them shrink down, and they were like, that's so cool. So it was definitely a project that got everyone excited about making art, and that was really nice, because, you know, I did have a few students who just did not like art, so having that assignment really get them involved in it was super fun. So, all right, with these, before you start coloring, remember it said in the instructions, we are coloring on the matte side. So see how this side, shiny, this side, see, you can't tell, there's not a sheen to it. And you can also tell by touching it, it's more of a matte feel to it. So that's because we want the colored pencil to be able to grab onto it. So you need to be using the matte side. It's not even going to color if you try to do it on the clear side. Now, when it comes to other shrink films, the smooth side, you would be able to use like Sharpie marker or another permanent type marker. We use some paint markers. Worked on this. Acrylic will sometimes work. So I think I might have that be a continuation. I might do another video on shrink film and some of the things you can do with it, because it's so much fun. Like, it actually becomes addictive after a while. All right. We're going to color this in. Now, I do not remember all of the colors for all of the Care Bear characters. I'm doing this one right here. So I'm probably going to go off this little reference here, or I might make it look a little funky. I don't know. I don't know if the Care Bear community is going to come after me if I don't color it exactly the way the Care Bear is supposed to look. Which I assume if kids are doing this, but it's supposed to be ages... What did it say on here? Ages 12 and up. So I'm assuming, you know, they would want to take creative freedom with this and just kind of do their own thing. But I'm going to show you on the umbrella up here how the colored pencil goes on. It goes on pretty smooth. And I'm going to zoom in a second so you can see it a little better. But the color is nice and bold. Do put something underneath, like a white paper, so that way you can see the colors. If you just had this laying on like a dark wood table or something, it does make it a little more difficult. So I had like copy paper, that sort of thing out, so they could lay their stuff on top and really see where they wanted to color things in. Okay, so I'll zoom in a little, and we're just gonna kind of fast forward, and I'll color this in, and then we'll take it downstairs and get it to shrink down. All right, we are in the kitchen. I've got this cookie sheet here. There's a little piece of foil. You are going to make sure you lay these with the side that you colored on facing up. And then I did bring the instructions just in case I forgot anything. So we are going to put these in the oven, and they're going to go in there for 1 to 3 minutes. And you should be keeping an eye on them. This isn't something that you go away for a second and just set the timer. You've got to be with it, because sometimes it'll shrink in 2 minutes, sometimes it takes full 3 minutes. So we're gonna go ahead and pop these in the oven, and hopefully we'll be able to watch them shrink. Look at them now, they're so tiny. Oh my gosh. See, people don't realize they do shrink down super small, and the colors get a lot bolder than when they were when you put them on. So if you accidentally went outside of a line a little bit, or maybe you felt like the color wasn't dark enough, it really does get nice and bold when they come out of the oven. So let's go upstairs and put them on the stands. Okay, just a really quick disclaimer before I take them back upstairs. You do need to let them chill out and kind of cool off a little bit on the foil before you start handling them, because when they're hot, they're still really malleable, and so you could accidentally bend one. And sometimes you can pop it back in the oven and get it warm again, but usually once it's shrunk down to that final size, you can't do anything about it, okay? It is what it is. So be patient, let it sit there for a couple minutes, and then start to handle them. Oh my goodness, look how tiny they are. So this is what we had before. It's not the exact ones, but look at that size, and look how they shrink down. It's so cool. Like, again, I'm a grown adult and this still intrigues me. I absolutely love it. So my students definitely loved it too. If you can find a kit like this, I strongly suggest getting it. So our last step for this kit is to put them in the little stands that it came with. So there's already a little cut in there, and you would just stick it in there, and then it would just stand up on its own, and you're like, ooh, you can display all your little Care Bears. Now, let's say you wanted this to be like a little keychain, because we do have this little extra space down here. Now, it would hang a little upside down on your keychain, but if you wanted this to be a keychain, you would get, before you even shrink this, when you're done coloring, you would get a hole punch, a single hole punch. Not those giant ones that are from the craft store, one of the smaller ones. A single hole punch, and just pop it right there in the center, okay? And then whenever it shrinks down, you'll be able to loop like a little jump ring in there. Honestly, I'm just going to show you with a little mark. When I say center, because I think right here is where you're thinking, I mean like the center of like the bottom here. I know that's a little off. Why did I use pink? Okay. Let me use something you can actually see. Okay, so where that little, not where the pink dot is, more where the blue dot is. That's what I mean when I say center. I mean like at the center of the bottom, okay? That way you could actually loop through, once this shrinks, you could loop through some thin wire like a jump ring or something. That's how my students and I made earrings, was we were able to punch the hole in there. Now, the bottom of this is not large enough for you to get one of those like 1-inch punches, but if you were able to get a punch a little bit bigger, or even try to cut a hole, if you had an X-Acto knife to just draw the shape of the hole and then cut it with the X-Acto knife, then you'd have a hole that would probably be large enough for you to be comfortable enough with to use it as the keychain and actually fit the keychain loop through, okay? If y'all wanted to, I could also do that in another video. If y'all want me to make another Shrinky Dink video, I am not opposed to that. Shrink film. We're not using actual Shrinky Dinks. Please don't sue me. So if you want me to make another shrink film video, I totally will, because I love this. So yeah, these are the finished charms. So you can just kind of display them. They just go in their happy little stands here. And then you can just let them stand on their own. Those are super cute. So yeah, that is today's video. I hope if y'all find this kit anywhere, I mean, grab it. They only had one left. I almost grabbed both of them, but I was like, no, there's someone else out there like me who will see this kit and say, oh my God, I got to have it. So if you see a kit like this, honestly, go for it. The nostalgia is fabulous. Thank y'all so much for watching. I will see you in the next one, hopefully with more shrink film. Bye-bye.